perhaps most importantly is the quantum effects, this idea that these materials behave both as a particle and as a wave, and that allows you to exploit the full electromagnetic spectrum for water treatment. For example, we can use sunlight to generate heat using nanophotonics and use that heat to distill water and desalinate much cheaper. And we have a startup on that Chilling Lee developed. But I'm going to give you 3 examples in general to exploit, demonstrate these properties. grand, and it's electrocatalytic. Also using the trap and zap approach. In this, I like electrochemical systems because they're tunable. You can just turn on the current up and down and get what you want to a certain extent. Here we use hexagonal boron nitride again, but not as a catalyst. We use it as a hydrophobic coating on the electrode, on the anode, to essentially promote adsorption of the hydrophobic tail for proximity. And we use a very well-known metal organic framework called UIO66. It's called that because it was invented at the University of Oslo in Norway, to enhance with the trapping function. We found that a molar ratio of 1:1 MOF to HPN worked best. And decorating HPN with the MOF resulted in the best performance in terms of removal and extent of defluorination. The MOF alone is not very conductive, so it really didn't help at all. But you can see the point I want to make is that we were able to defluorinate with a voltage of only 1.8 and 1.9, which is very low. There was 0 removal and 0 defluorination without this coating. Again, exemplifying the benefits of the trap and zap strategy. And the EEO, in this case, by the way, was 6 kilowatts per cubic meter, which is excellent, very competitive with other technologies in terms of energy efficiency. You always got to keep that in mind, you know, to be scalable. You got to know what the performance metrics should be. And in our case, I think we met it. But I want to summarize that this, what I call trap and zap strategy, relies on separating your target pollutants from interfering compounds that will scavenge your treatment capacity and concentrating them near reactive sites for more energy efficient degradation. And there are many strategies that you can do that. You can create physical barriers for size exclusion, keep away large things like natural organic matter from the surface so that it doesn't occlude the reactive side. You can engineer and manipulate the surface chemistry of the catalyst. You can make it hydrophobic to attract the tails, or rely on electrostatic attraction of the anionic sulfonate or carboxylic heads. You could even try molecular imprinting. We did that for developing COVID sensors, right, to rely on shape complementarity to enhance with the trapping function. I'm going to move on to the last example, which is biofilm and biofouling control. Biofilms are a big concern in water treatment and storage system because they may harbor pathogens. And they also may accelerate corrosion, both of which are multi-billion-dollar problems. And biofilms are a big problem if they form, because getting rid of them is so hard. You know, you add a chlorine or a disinfectant, and you only kill the outer layer. The inner layer is protected by diffusion limitations. So we want to try to prevent them or eradicate them after they have been formed. So much of what I'm going to show you today involves bacteriophages, which are basically viruses that exclusively infect bacteria. They cannot infect humans or insects or protozoa or plants, only bacteria. So from that point of view, they're safe. We are pioneering many applications of phages in environmental engineering, including what I'm going to talk about today, which is biofouling control. I will tell you that even though they are the most abundant biological resource on Earth, about 10 to the 31 on this planet, I think that they are by far the most underutilized biological resource. I view them as green disinfectants in the sense that they're self-replicating green biocides that are highly precise. And this idea of phage therapy was actually pioneered by this guy, Félix Derel. He was sort of French and Quebecois at the same time, and got kicked out of Yale, ended up in Georgia, Tbilisi, Georgia, and in the Liava Institute. And he used phages to fight disease, to fight human pathogens. To be honest with you, Western medicine sort of ignored it for many years. But now this forgotten cure has come to the surface because of so many antibiotic resistance infections where antibiotics just cannot help. And there are now already many commercial products that have been developed to fight human pathogens or even plant pathogens for agricultural applications. We discover a way. The problem with phages is that they're very selective and only one phage will kill one bacteria. And maybe the function that you want to disrupt is caused by thousands of different species, right? But we figured out a way of isolating polyvalent phages that can actually infect multiple classes of bacteria. And even such polyvalent phages have a hard time penetrating biofilms, even though they do better than normal phages. They need help, but we want them to reach the bottom of the biofilm, the root, to attack it from the root and de-anchor it quickly. That's our goal. So to get them a little help, we conjugated them with super paramagnetic nanoparticles. Directional immobilization was important to make sure that the tails that recognize the bacteria are pointing outside. And these are particles that can be pushed very easily with a weak magnetic field. And then you can exert directional control, make them go right or left. And when you're done, you can reverse the magnetic field and pull them back out for reuse. We're using, this is food-grade magnetite that is used to make chocolate darker, so there's no concern about adding something toxic. This is a food colorant. And you can see them here. They're targeting this bacillus. These nanoconjugate nanoparticles with phages are these tiny little spheres that are attacking and destroying this bacteria. And it worked pretty well. You can see here an epifluorescent image of a biofilm. This is the biofilm that has been treated with the particles alone, no phages. And nothing really happens other than some physical disruption as you push the particles in and you pull them back out for reuse, but there's no really effect because this is essentially rust. It's not toxic to the bacteria. Our phages did amazingly well because they're polyvalent and they happen to pack their own depolymerase enzymes, which is very rare for phages. But they didn't do as well as when they were conjugated with nanoparticles and were what I call magnetic Trojan horses. You know, the nanoparticle is like a Trojan horse that is delivering them home to de-anchor this more efficiently. Now, I'm also very interested in solving problems of the developing world. Some people call it the global south. And in this case, the problem I was addressing is biofouling of water storage units. You probably have seen that in many places you have a water tank made of plexiglass on top of the roof. And if you don't take care of it, biofouling develops and then you can get gastrointestinal disease and so on. So in this example, what we did is we use a smart, if you wish, responsive polymer that swells when a biofilm-induced decrease in pH happens. See, biofilms produce fatty acids that decrease the pH locally, and that's enough to swell the biofilm. And when the biofilm opens, it releases the phages that were nano-encapsulated inside. The polymer has a very difficult name to pronounce, but I'm going to give it a shot, okay? It's called tripolyphosphate and glycidoxypropyl trimethylthoxysilane. There you go. And what I want to point out, these are the nano-encapsulated phages. When you artificially, in tap water, you put it for a month, right? And you artificially decrease the pH of the tap water, phages are released, and they're viable. So I know from here that at least they stay 1 month alive and active. On a separate project that I'm not showing you here, I was interested in encapsulating phages on the spores of Bacillus subtilis because I wanted them to last without refrigeration for a long time. And they actually stay viable for over a year. So I think that they can last a lot longer there. But the point is this: if I use confocal microscopy with the SNAR4 dye that essentially produces red dots when the pH decreases to 5 or lower, I can see several areas where the local pH is sufficiently low to cause that swelling and automated, autonomous release of the phages, right? And these encapsulated phages can be easily coated onto susceptible surfaces, such as the bottom of these water storage tanks, just using a simple plasma treatment. And the important thing is that when they're released, they're attacking the biofilm from the bottom up. They don't have to deal with diffusion limitations from a top-down attack. It's the nascent biofilm, as soon as it begins to form, it gets eradicated. And that's a big advantage. And you can see here the benefits of that coating. I mean, this is uncoated against biofoul. If I coat it just with the polymer, with empty shells, if you wish, with no phages, nothing happens. But with phages, you have a significant decrease in biofouling. Before I end, I want to make a comment. One lesson I learned about ERCs are tasked. They have a hidden agenda, right? They are supposed to be economic engines and enhance our global competitiveness. And they expect you to get ideas to market. And then I realized that that's like climbing a mountain with 3 valleys of death. The first valley of death, which is the valley of the idea, is usually where we live, where we come up with ideas and we de-risk them in our labs. But then you gotta take them to the second valley of death, which is the valley of the prototype. This is where you have incubators and accelerators where you work with angel investors and venture capitalists, but also with industry. And it is so important to begin to talk to them even before you begin the ideation process, so that you understand what the real needs are, and so that you have people that pull what you push. Nobody should be pushing anything where you don't feel a pull. And of course, the third valley is the deployment of those big ticket items that here got demonstrated to be techno-economically feasible. This is where you kick the tires and got data to do the techno-economic analysis, and usually this involves either large corporation or big state funding. But my point is that we mainly build this bridge. And as educators, we also are supposed to try to get more people to the top. And the only way to do that is to encourage more people to attempt that climb. You were asking me, do we recognize entrepreneurship in the P&T? And I think we should, for professors, count their patents as if they were paper sciences, right? And also, we sometimes, in our center, provided some entrepreneurship training, like teaching them how to write a business plan and do customer discovery and so on. And using these principles, I think Newt became a very effective innovation ecosystem. I like to think about it as a one-stop to find solutions to complex water quality problems. We counted with up to 30 faculty labs across the 4 universities. In the 10 years that we operated, we published over 900 papers, many in high-impact journals. We had a lot of spin-off companies. Our economic multiplier was 7-fold. Typical federal investment in research is 1.5 to 2-fold. Ours was 7-fold. And we're very proud of our workforce development efforts, including the placement of 42 new faculty members. So anyways, with that, I want to conclude with my take-home message is that nanotechnology offers the potential for disruptive beneficial innovation, not only for drinking water treatment, but also for wastewater treatment and reuse. And we can develop advanced materials and enabling technologies, such as this listed here, that can be integrated into compact high-performance modular systems. Now, Steve Jobs used to say that people don't know what they want until you showed it to them. And about 15 years ago or so, he showed us smartphones. When I came to Houston, I didn't have one. I didn't know I needed one. And now, it's difficult to function without one. And in a similar manner, these smart systems that we're trying to develop, we hope will be like the smartphones of the water industry in the sense that they will be able to give you superior multifunctional service even without limited infrastructure. Now, before I end, I would like to announce and invite you to the Leading Edge Technologies for Water and Wastewater Treatment Conference. This is the flagship conference of IWA, of the International Water Association. It's going to come here to RISE on the first week of June of 2026, just a week before the World Cup. So hopefully there will be a lot of people in Houston. And what is unique about this conference is that it brings together leaders from academia, industry, utilities, and consultants, the whole value chain, which is very rare to find in the same place. So the deadline for abstract submission is November 1st, but of course, I know you guys do great work, so if you ask me for an extension, we'll be happy to do that. But I really want to invite you to submit and attend, especially students. It will be a great opportunity to meet a lot of international leaders. With that, I want to conclude by first thanking the National Science Foundation for funding NEWT. I want to thank the students in yellow that generated most of the data that I presented today. And of course, I want to thank you for your kind attention. Thank you.
Why don't we start with questions from students? Pedro?
Sounds really good.
Students, any questions for Dr. Alvarez? Right there, yes. Speak loud, okay, because it's very bad acoustics.
So that people on Zoom can hear you.
Okay, thank you for the wonderful presentation. So earlier you mentioned about a polymer including. So do you think this particular polymer, it will work for the other chemicals, or how long it can perform the same?
Yeah, so that polymer was somewhat hydrophobic, and we were aiming to trap or attract the hydrophobic tail of the PFAS molecule. I think it could work for other hydrophobic pollutants, but I have not tried that yet. Thank you.
Pedro, thank you very much. It was very educational. So, regarding the use of nanomaterials for catalysis, will their properties remain intact once they start clustering around?
Excellent question. One of our biggest technological challenges was to immobilize the materials without them losing functionality. In fact, when I was using Fularine at the very beginning, I found that they easily cluster in solution when you have a little salt, they coagulate and cluster. But if I put them on a surface, they did not cluster, and they offer a higher available surface area. So actually, the Buckminster Fularine, which is also a photocatalyst, performed better in that regard. But it is always a big challenge to watch out for that loss of functionality upon immobilization. Now, if you kept them in solution, we try to avoid, because then they would escape and cause concerns from the public, they would definitely cluster. It's very difficult to keep them separated. The moment that you have any ionic strength, boom. So, but excellent question. Thank you.
Marcus, by the way, why do you guys make up such difficult names?
My name is difficult because...
No, I mean, not your name.
My name is difficult, and that's why I'm chemical engineer. so my question is, if you see some integration of these modular systems, for example, from the chemical engineering world,
Yep.
there is a discussion and a lot of research about systems that are going to be deployed to take advantage of the anaerobic digestion of waste. But in those kinds of operations, this maybe is part, let's say here in Texas, you have both problems. You have the problem of what to do with the waste,
Yeah.
and create energy. Of course, you have the problem of water. So we envision, like say, modular units that take advantage of both in local integration, still distributed, but not doing only one thing, accomplishing more.
No, it's an excellent question. There is, I sense, a growing interest in distributed biorefining and distributed biomanufacturing or anaerobic treatment. I like the idea of modular processes in that you can remove or insert modules depending on the functionalities that you need. That flexibility and adaptability is important for a changing world, right? But I will not deny that there are big advantages with a centralized system due to the economies of scale. So it's a very system-specific question. Both have merits, and to be honest, I have never done the economic analysis.
Speaking of economic analysis, if we standardize these units, let's say you create a prototype, you prove that it's successful. If it's standardized, then mass manufacturing can drop the price. If we do only ad hoc distributed, we're going to get the extra cost.
That is true. One of the premises of sustainability is avoid the one size fits all, and you're absolutely right about that.
My question is about the coding you do on the catalyst, basically, in order to improve or to increase the concentration, the low concentration.
Yeah.
So what about the byproduct or the product of the degradation? Would that be also concentrated around the surface, which cause passivation of the catalyst?
Yeah, that's a very good point. So we don't necessarily call the catalyst itself, but the neighboring atoms around it, right? In the event of the bacterial disinfection, the byproduct that I was worried about are the genes, and they were absorbed and destroyed near there. But yeah, catalyst passivation is always a big concern, right? Especially if you have some metals and sulfides, for example, or salt even that you need to be aware of that may require some pretreatment before. So a lot of times these things are a module in a treatment train that may require some preliminary removal of interfering things. But yeah, that's a good point. There could be things that will foul the catalyst, yeah. And there are ways, of course, to regenerate the activity in situ as well. Yeah.
Thank you for the great talk. My question is related to the specific part of the HPN. Instead of using chlorine-mediated, chlorine radical-mediated, activating the deposit cell.
Yeah.
Has there been any energetic insight on seeing how much it will cost to activate that CF?
Yeah, there is an excellent paper. I'm trying to remember. She's from the Westlake University, a private university in Hangzhou. Let me think about her name right now. I can see her face because I gave her this idea when I was on McGill on sabbatical and she was a postdoc. She just won the Morgan Award for Environmental Science and Technology as young investigator. And probably will be coming here, but it was all molecular modeling. That's how she figured that out. What are the most susceptible weak spots? A lot of times it's that carbon atom that I was told you where the ionic group resides, whether it is sulfonic for PFOS or carboxylic for PFOA. That's usually the weak spot. Yeah. But I can't remember her name right now, I'm sorry. No, wait. God, I have a hard time with some names. Does anybody know who she is? No? Okay.
I have a question.
Yeah.
I've always been interested in these biofilms.
Yeah.
What is the ambition? Like, if you want to be effective and sort of get rid of them, does it have to be 100%? Is it like a 0-1 kind of thing, or are you happy with getting down to some level of thinness?
I'll be happy with a probiotic approach where I make a benign biofilm that fights off invaders. Okay. You know, for example, many places in Europe, they don't chlorinate or even disinfect. You go to Holland and, you know, they don't use that. So I think we need to understand better the distribution system microbiome and do ecological network modeling to figure out who the keystone species are and who the pathogens are and how to. I think we need more ecologically informed solutions, not just throw chlorine at it or disinfectant, but more like, what's the name of that game where you build something with wood and you remove one thing and the whole thing falls apart? That kind of approach, a smarter, precise targeting, I think would be useful. But it could also be just, again, like you have probiotics for your gut microbiome, you know, that are supposed to be beneficial. Maybe we can do that too, I don't know. But it's not, we're never gonna win that war, you know, against bacteria. We may delay their success, right, and keep delaying it, but eventually they want to be attached and they will figure out a way to survive. Hi, Stacy.
Stacy.
Yeah, I had a question kind of related to that. I'm not a biologist, but I was wondering if your materials, like right now you're using but it is safe enough to use directly in like biomedical applications?
Yeah, I mean, we are obviously very interested in biomedical applications, and in fact, I used to play in the area of human body bioremediation, treating the human body as a biological reactor and targeting molecules that accumulate intracellularly and pathogenically as we age and our system stops degrading them. And along them, there are a lot of things that accumulate in our gut, molecules, pollutants, if you wish, that cause anything from cardiovascular disease to Alzheimer's. Every year I see 3 or 4 papers in Nature finding another potential target for enhancing microbial degradation or manipulation of the gut microbiome. So that's an area that I am very interested in by combining bioinformatics with ecological modeling and machine learning to discern what those targets should be, and then figuring out how to selectively target them. Yeah. Yeah.
Thank you for that great lecture. I'm working in capacity ionization, water distillation. Our system, actually, I was working about this in envision. Our system is 2 electrode system, but the system you already showed was 1 electrode. I have 2 problems always facing me while running the biologic experiment for the desalination part, not the electrochemistry part, that we have 2 electrode system in a cell we already designed to make the water passing through. For sure, it's not a big contaminant for the tap water to make it pharmaceutical applications. By doing the third part, like we don't have a problem with different voltage or different fluoride, but we have a problem with the stability. Like by 9 hours or something, this is the highest we went through, the stability cut off, like the biologic being off. Do you have any advice for me? Like one of the cells already coated with the
So we're talking about biofouling in the desalination system, right? Well, you know what, funny? Yesterday I was meeting with the CEO of IDE, which happens to be the largest desalination company in the world. They run the Carlsbad 100 MGD. They run one in Tianjin, China, all over. And they actually want to move their US headquarters to Houston. And their strategy, surprisingly, is let them through and starve them. That's what they do about biofouling. Yeah. Let them through and starving. The problem is that a lot of times they use these high pressure filtrations in the pre-filters that break down the cells, they kill them, but then the fragments become food that accumulate in the reverse osmosis unit, and that can cost you a 20% increase in energy easily. So I was surprised by their solution, right? That they have more practical experience than I do, even if it has no scientific basis. That's what they do. Let them through and starve them. Hope that helps. She lives in Houston, by the way. Rosemary, I forget, weird last name, but yeah.
Any other questions? But with that, one more back there. Could you speak louder?
Is there a different website? Because I was trying to find the slides that you presented to us today. And
you're very welcome to these slides. That's why I send them ahead, so that you can share them. As a habit, I only present things that have been published. So you can also see the publications. A lot of times, if you remember, these slides have, for example, in the bottom, the paper where they were published, and you can get more information that way in all of them. So you're very happy, very welcome to have them.
I'm not from this major data science, so mainly looking into I'm just interested, I couldn't listen to your talk, but I just wanted to know how much you have used AI for your research, as well as there will be applications coming, right? So in the real time, so are there any models that you're planning to use so that it can analyze the data and tell us how much amount of chemicals needs to be used or is being used, so that what is the application that AI can help you?
No, that's a very good question. Most consultants, they guard their AI algorithm as trade secrets. And what they're doing really is fancy statistics and regression to optimize process, I think that that's an undersell. I think that people should be using AI to inform decisions about capital deployment of major infrastructure, about improving the one water paradigm, and look at the whole stormwater, wastewater, drinking water system to inform, again, financial decisions or other things. They should be more ambitious. Obviously, there is a need for thinking about water for these digital centers, for cooling mainly, and making sure that the water doesn't end up fouling and whatever. But also, the most immediate need, I think, is in bioinformatics for microbiome engineering, as an example. Yeah.
What I'm going to do is present the plaque that we usually give to the Elizabeth B. Rockwell lectures. This one goes to in appreciation of Pedro Alvarez, in recognition of your outstanding contribution to education and collaboration in the engineering field.
Well, thank you very much. I really appreciate it.
Pleasure.
Thank you.
Really good stuff.
Thank you. I'm going to sit down.
With that,
Thank you.
let me put that in there.
Yeah, thank you. That way it won't scratch. This is so beautiful.
That's nice. They do a good job.
Yeah.
And then I think somebody will pick you up for another little talks.
Oh, okay.
And then I'll see you at the restaurant. Are you
Yeah.
driving there?
Yes, I am.
Okay,
yeah.
so you know
yeah.
where it is, right? It's around
Yeah,
Richmond.
I know.
So I'll see you there at 5.
It's one of my favorite restaurants, actually. Yeah.
That's Pradeep's go-to place.
Good. Hi, how are you?